So on February the 5th, 2019, I quit eating sugar for what I found out was the rest of my life. How that happened? Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Yeah, it was one of those things whenever you came in and you said, hey, I want to try this thing. And I was not necessarily keen on it at all. We talked about it for a couple of, a week or two, just kind of banged it around in our heads. And I was not necessarily super happy about it, but was willing to give it a try for your sake. And we'll get into that. But as we now know, upon lots of research and further discovery, it turned into a lifelong decision.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Absolutely. It sure did.
So take us back a little bit.
Let's start with
intros. Let's start with an intro. Hi, welcome to the Dust or Mud podcast, episode 14. We're so excited to get into this episode. I'll just start talking about it.
Right.
So last week we had Rebecca, our oldest daughter, on here, and she really opened up a lot about her trials and tribulations and in turn hope.
Yeah, I predicted that we would have a story of hope, and I think by the end of it, I think everybody saw that. They could see the hope there.
Absolutely. Yes. As she has made her journey from what she felt like was hopelessness and has turned her life around.
Yeah.
It was a really fun, it was a good conversation. Yeah. I don't know if it was a fun one, but it was definitely it was a good conversation. And we've gotten a lot of comments back.
Yeah. A
lot of encouraging comments on her. One cool hashtag, Rebecca Strong, came in from a friend of ours. That was really neat. Did my heart good. Another friend pointed out that would like for one of his kids to watch the episode, has been through something very similar in his life, and would really like for him to listen to it so that he could also maybe find some hope and benefit out of it.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So that was a good conversation. That was episode 13.
Yep.
If you know anybody that is struggling and could just use a story of how she turned her life around, and might give them some hope.
Yeah.
Pass it on. Share it.
Absolutely. It's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
So you've teased it.
Uh-huh.
What are we talking about today?
So we're going to dive into food.
Okay.
We're going to dive into, and we're going to talk about our experiences and debunk some diet myths that the world, kind of the world now, that's too big probably, but most importantly, the standard American walking around has been led to believe.
Yeah.
And how it's affecting us as a nation and as individuals.
Yeah. So there's tons of information out there.
My goodness, there's so much.
Like even in preparation for this episode, it's just absolutely overwhelming how much info there is out there. And so what we're going to try to do is talk through our personal journey.
Yeah.
And we'll use numbers and some of the research and some of the things that we've found and learned during the conversation, but not really trying to take through a scientific review of all of the data and research out there.
Right. No. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's
overwhelming.
We will and are happy to give resources at the end on the podcast YouTube description.
Yeah.
We will put the resources that we have found to be most beneficial and some of the resources from the data that we have collected, and you can put that out there for people to go and look at.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit to that week or those weeks in 2019, whenever we were just kind of toying around with, hey, let's try a ketogenic diet.
Okay, so I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2013 and had, I wouldn't say been struggling with gut health, but like it just hadn't been great. And a flying Air Force doctor friend of mine, he kept putting information out on Facebook about ketogenic diet. I didn't really know anything about it. And then for a while there, the information he was putting out was specifically geared towards people with Crohn's disease and how a ketogenic diet might help, or people with irritable bowel writ large, like different inflammatory type diseases, and how a ketogenic diet might help those people. And so I know, like, and trust him. I've flown with him, so there was a foundation of trust there. And so I just thought, I think just based really solely on his recommendations, I thought, what have we got to hurt?
Yeah, what's there to lose?
There's illness and sickness going on here already.
Yeah.
The worst that could happen is it causes a Crohn's flare up, and that's not abnormal. Right. It wasn't for me at the time. So it's like, okay, so if I have a flare up, I just won't do that again,
Yeah.
And so that really drove me to say, hey, let's give this a try.
Okay. But that wasn't in 2013. We didn't even start that thought process until 2019.
Yeah.
So you lived with it for about 6 years, trying different things to mitigate the inflammation and such. There were times when we ate healthier than others, or what we thought was healthier than other times. Turns out not necessarily.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Maybe not. And so the point came in, you're finding out some new information about keto. We started looking into it. Maybe this could help.
Yeah.
So it's been 6 years of kind of dealing with it. And okay, let's try this.
Yeah, at that point, it wasn't even really that I was finding out information about it.
Yep.
Like this was solely on Bone's recommendation.
Right.
Like this might help
people. And you. Okay. Yeah. So you talked me into it, and I'm pretty much, I have a history of health conscious diets / gym rat, sometimes we cared and sometimes we didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty willing to try different things.
Yeah.
But I was a little hesitant on this one just because you're telling me that I can't eat any carbs or sugar. And to me, oftentimes, I don't know, a smoothie is healthy.
Right.
And we're going to have to kind of come away from that big time. Well, if we can't eat all of the things that we usually eat, what are we going to eat? And then the question in the back of your mind, how am I going to survive? And I was not really looking forward to it, to be honest, but was willing to give it a try.
And found out it's not no carbs, right? It's reduced and
well, compared to what we were eating, it might as well have been no carbs.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it might as well have been. But at any rate, so I say yes, and we kind of prepare. We start doing what can we eat? Very cursory study on, well, what do you eat when you eat a keto diet? I guess people will call it. We just call it a way of eating now. It's how we eat.
A lifestyle.
A lifestyle. Right. Okay.
It's not a diet from the perspective of I'm out to lose weight.
No.
It is a diet like a human diet, like from a bigger perspective.
Right. So I agree. We plan, we prepare, we go to the grocery store, we get the things, we get onto the Mr. Google and start finding what do you eat and recipes and doing all the research. And so do
you remember our first keto meal?
Oh, keto meal.
Yeah. We went to the bowling alley on base.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was the first time.
The first time we said,
we had just been
here's our
out Yeah.
Here's meal number 1.
No bun.
And we got a hamburger with no bun. And we didn't get French fries.
No French fries. I do remember that very well. It had cheese and bacon and beef, and
Yeah.
it was great.
Yep.
So we figured out really quickly and how to do low carb pretty quick. But it was not easy those first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
For me, keto flu was a real thing. In a way, I didn't necessarily like the way it made me feel.
Yeah.
As far as just getting over the hump
Yep.
of all of the carbs and kind of cleansing my body out. So that was in 2019, and now it's 2023, and we have a farm, and we've done a lot of things. There's been like 5 years have passed, so we need to fill in some gap on these 5 years. Some of the things that we've learned, what we've diving into and helping people with foods, and we love that.
Yeah.
So how did we? So you had Crohn's. We started eating keto, and we started learning.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time educating ourselves.
Yeah. The whole learning process started really with, what is keto? How do we do this? And I don't remember how far into it we were. And I mean, when we say we started learning, it was books, it was podcasts, it was weekends. We would spend all day watching YouTube videos.
It happened to be kind of wintry anyway.
Yeah, it was wintry.
So
and
we just
we
hibernated with YouTube.
Yeah. And we were watching seminars and instruction. Like we would watch 2-3 hour instruction from different doctors, and like we were just like voraciously consuming information. And it was quite a while there where we were just
we saturated our brains until we felt like we were comfortable with, okay, now I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. But there was a transition there with us. So we started learning about it and diving into it. And let's talk about just for a second some of the information that we gathered during those times when we were just sitting there in front of the YouTube going, wait, what?
Yeah.
So we learned about the history of how we got here with the standard American diet.
Yeah.
Can you help us walk us through with Ancel and how that progressed and the knowledge that we got when we were sitting there in front of YouTube?
Yeah. So what we'll talk about is our perspective, our opinion.
Yeah.
And there are other opinions out there.
So many.
So
yeah, this is our opinion, and these are our experiences that have gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah. So Ancel Keys was a doctor. He did a study in the early 50s,
1950s.
I think. 1950, early 50s is when he did the study. It was published as the 7 Countries Study. And in that study is where he tied cholesterol to heart disease, and a high-fat diet, specifically saturated fat, high-fat diet to cholesterol, that then tied to heart disease. And not long after that, the president had a heart attack. The president of the United States had a heart attack.
President Eisenhower. So it was a national thing. He was a beloved president. The nation was freaked out because heart issues were becoming a thing. And Ancel was a very, very vocal, pushy type person, and he really used that, and he was prominent in DC. And so he used that event to really push his hypothesis onto the nation, and it worked. And from there, there's 20 years of things that happened, but from there, it really led to, on a national level, the introduction of a very low fat, which in turn generates a high carbohydrate diet. And by the 70s now, it came out as actual government guidelines for the American diet.
is a high carbohydrate, low fat diet. And I mean, think back to when we were in school in the late 70s, that's exactly what we were taught.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up with the food pyramid at that point with,
Right.
the base of the pyramid, the thing that you're supposed to eat the most of being all carbohydrates. That was your grains.
Mm-hmm.
And so it leads to what we've termed, at least, and others, the standard American diet, where
Mm-hmm.
you've got 50% plus of the calories consumed on a daily basis are carbohydrates.
Oh, yeah. So you said 7 country study. So it's a study that he looked at just 7 countries.
No,
and
unfortunately
led
on
to-
that one, he looked, it was either 21 or 23, I don't remember which, different countries. And of the data he collected, he cherry-picked the data that supported his hypothesis. And of those 20 plus countries, only 7 of them supported the hypothesis. So he disregarded all of the other countries whose data did not support his hypothesis, and then published the 7 countries study with then the recommendation of lowering cholesterol, that cholesterol is linked to heart disease.
So that's just junk science, unfortunately, because if we all went through high school experiment science, we know that you don't do your experiment or publish your studies just based on your hypothesis to prove your hypothesis.
Yeah, I mean, what you
don't.
should do, obviously, is you posit a hypothesis and then you do an experiment, and then you either prove or disprove your hypothesis based on the data collected. And the way he looked at it was he just used the experiment to collect data that would prove his hypothesis, and any data outlying as an outlier that didn't fit his hypothesis, he just disregarded.
So we took a person's hypothesis and have created an entire national problem.
Yeah, and recently I was looking at it,
Wow.
and I believe it's worse than national. I believe it's now worldwide, because the standard American diet has been exported now around the world, and countries around the world that have historically been thin, healthy, are now, like I think the latest number I saw was 40% of the globe are now obese.
Mm.
And I believe that that's based largely on the now exported standard American diet, which really allows for ultra-processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you start getting into the ultra-processed foods, now you're introducing just that huge high carb.
Yeah. Okay. So he came up with that cholesterol hypothesis.
Yeah.
And during our upbringing, we saw eggs were bad, cholesterol is bad, so therefore eggs are bad. And they demonized eggs, they've demonized meat, they've demonized fat, they demonized all of these things for years.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to get people who maybe do care about their health to, how are you now going to convince them when they have been, how are you going to change their minds when they have been, it was so ingrained that these things were bad.
Yeah.
And now
you're
going to try to convince me?
I think at first, if you can remember back, I think at first we were skeptical, at least, if not just, I don't know if I believe this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it took, I think that's why we spent so much time researching. We spent so much time reading and finding another source.
Right.
Okay, so that doctor says it, but maybe he's a quack. Let's find another one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one that said it. And it's like...
And then there were not just doctors, there was journalists and actual investigative journalists going out there and trying to find the truth.
Yeah, scientists, researchers,
Right.
And so it for us, at least, there was a moment, and I can distinctly remember the moment where it was, they lied to us. The they being, I don't know, standard doctors, the government with the food pyramid and guidelines, the, I don't know, medical standards of care that would put a high carbohydrate
FDA.
diet before, in front of you when you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like just the school lunches, like the whole thing. There was just this moment where it's like, you've got to be kidding me. I really think they lied to us. And so from there, it was like, well, what is the truth? And that the quest for information
Right.
shifted a little bit there from, I'm curious about this thing. This doesn't sound right based on the knowledge that I have, my foundation,
Right.
my frame of reference, especially like you said with health, calorie in, calorie out. It
Well,
doesn't
we
matter
were
what the
just-
calorie is.
Well, you were a fighter pilot, and you weren't allowed to just. I mean, you had to be fit.
Yeah.
There was a standard of fitness that was required, so we had to care to some degree.
Yeah.
We couldn't just willy-nilly eat whatever always that we wanted to, so that it mattered.
Yeah.
Because you had to fly, fight, and win.
Right.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
No, you had PT tests you had to pass.
Yeah.
You had to be able to run a mile and a half in X amount of minutes and do sit-ups and push-ups and all of the things.
Yeah.
And so,
And at that point, a waist measurement.
and a waist measurement, because anything over 40 inches, not cool.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about people who don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we cared.
Yeah.
We thought we were kind of healthy most of the time.
Absolutely.
We weren't.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we've all believed Ancel at this point. The government has us all on track to get on board with this low fat. We all know whenever it happened. I mean, remember when the baked potato came on board at Wendy's?
Yeah.
Go get yourself a baked potato salad bar and get some chili on top.
Yeah. I did.
That was during that time.
Yeah.
We stopped eating hamburgers.
Well,
I mean, we
yeah.
still ate them, but it's okay to eat the potato.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were wanting to be healthy.
That's right. I'm getting
The
the baked
healthy
potato.
choice is the baked potato.
That's right.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Okay, so we're all on board with all of this. And it was okay for a little while. That's what we all did, and it worked. It seemed to be working.
Actually, if you look at the data, it didn't. It never did work.
Well, we didn't know it because we couldn't see the outward effects of it for a few years.
Yeah.
Lasting effects weren't there. Long-term effects weren't there because, long-term hadn't happened.
Yeah.
So they really didn't. It took a while for them to figure it out, if they've even figured it out at this point.
Well, there's a whole lot of research now.
Because that started back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's been 50 years.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. So, it's things like, go back to the old women's magazines, pre-1950s.
Yeah.
There's all women know that, to be healthy, you don't eat the biscuits.
Yeah, you don't eat the carbs.
You don't eat the carbs.
You don't eat the
like
pasta.
That used to be common. Like the common foundation was that the carbs led to a weight gain, unhealthy, right? Like, so there was an uphill battle there between the 50s and the 70s, really, to change the mind of an entire culture, but it worked.
Oh, yes, it did. It really did. So, cholesterol misconception. So, but we've demonized cholesterol at this point. Cholesterol is bad. We've got to get. Everyone's on a statin. Everyone is being told to bring your cholesterol down. We've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Because your family has a history of high cholesterol.
Yes, that's true. And my family has a history of heart disease.
And they have a history of heart disease.
Yes.
Heart attacks at a young age.
Very young age, actually.
death
at young age.
at a young age.
Yep.
And it's cholesterol's fault by 1980.
Oh yeah,
90.
definitely by the 80s.
It's cholesterol's fault.
Yes.
That these people are having heart attacks and dying.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get everyone's cholesterol down.
Yep. Yep.
Right? And so they start getting everyone's cholesterol down through diet and medications.
Yeah. That was the common knowledge, absolutely. As we did more study, it turns out, and at least our truth right now is cholesterol is required in the body. Around 70% of the brain is made up of cholesterol. Like it is absolutely necessary for health. And one of the things that cholesterol will do is it will cover over or patch, try to repair things that are inflamed or torn. And so when you eat inflammatory foods, your arteries begin to inflame. And then one of the things that happens then is cholesterol will go in and try to coat it and try to fix it.
Right.
It's basically, so the inflammation actually ends up causing damage to the arteries.
Tears.
And your body treats cholesterol, or to your body, cholesterol is like a Band-Aid.
Right.
And it goes and repairs that tear. And then more inflammation, more cholesterol goes in there. More inflammation, more cholesterol, more inflammation, more cholesterol. And eventually you end up with blocked arteries due to the cholesterol.
Yeah.
The problem with that is not the cholesterol, though. The cholesterol is doing what it's supposed to do. If you weren't inflaming and you weren't tearing your arteries, then cholesterol wouldn't be working in that way. It wouldn't have to. So that it's a different way of looking at it, I think. And one of the realizations that we've talked about recently is if you are eating a standard American diet and you are inflaming your arteries due to that diet, cholesterol will clog your arteries.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's doing what
it's doing its job.
It's doing its job. But that doesn't make cholesterol bad. It's just doing its job. The bad thing is the thing that's actually inflaming your arteries to begin with. If you weren't cutting yourself, you wouldn't need to put a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
It's not the Band-Aid's fault.
Right.
The Band-Aid is just trying to fix it.
So the science community has had some reassessments. There have been doctors. There are tests. There are studies going, maybe that wasn't quite right. And some reassessment has been happening within that community. And I'll just throw this one out there. The Association of Dietary, Circulating, and Supplemental Fatty Acids with Coronary Risk, a systemic review and meta-analysis out of the Annals of Internal Medicine of 2014. They're now finding it was a weak or no association between saturated fats and heart disease, and it's beginning to challenge. The studies are beginning to challenge the decades-old guidance.
Yeah.
So that was in 2014.
Yep.
There are at that point for quite a few years now we've been seeing that maybe that low-fat thing wasn't so good.
Yeah.
Right. So that freed us up to continue on our quest for more information, that type of information. We just stayed on our quest for more and more information and really got into it.
Yeah. And now
just pissed off though. I mean,
it's a foundational shake.
Yes.
Right. Like our whole
that's right.
Health foundation, like from the time that we could remember, was built on the food pyramid. Really.
Right.
You know, I mean,
right.
And so that pyramid now crumbled because the base of it, we're now learning shouldn't actually be the base.
Right.
It probably shouldn't even be there.
Right.
It should be the tip, if anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so like all of a sudden, and I remember us talking about it, pausing the videos and saying, we've got to flip the food pyramid upside down.
Upside down.
And it just like,
what?
you just pause and think. And I mean, I think some things put candy on the very top or something.
They did.
But like,
with the oil.
yeah.
With fats.
With fats.
Yeah.
But
Candy
like,
and fats are in the same
Not saying
group.
that candy needs to be there, but like take candy off of that one.
Right.
Food pyramid needs to be flipped completely. And the fats need to be the basis of this thing.
Right.
And so that now foundation is shaking, you know.
Yeah, it's
And
all
so
starting to.
now we've got to totally rebuild a foundation of knowledge for health for us.
Right.
And health being food from the food perspective.
Right.
Not saying, well, we shouldn't exercise. I mean, like not that.
Right.
Just from what we're consuming perspective, our foundation is now rattled completely, and we need to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And as we started trying to rebuild it, the next realization for me is I might not have to have a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was, I might not have to be rotund in my older age because I don't have systemic autoimmune issues.
Yeah.
Don't really have any, I don't know, major health problems genetically within my family. But I'm going to get fat, 50-year-old women do,
Yeah.
you know.
And for me, it was by the time I'm in my 50s, I will have had at least my first heart attack.
Right.
But just family history.
Yeah.
By the time I'm there, I will have, I mean, I'm 50 right now.
And you look amazing, by the way.
Why, thank you. So do you.
Not that that's the point.
But by this point, from a genetic perspective, from my family's perspective, I should have already had my first heart attack. And so there was a flip, a switch that went, wait a minute.
Are you saying
maybe it's not just genetics. Maybe it's what we're eating.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like foundation shakes, you know, because I don't know that it was anything that I had made a conscious decision about, or but it was just that it was an awareness.
Yeah.
Just, you know, as we are self-aware, there was an awareness that I've got heart attacks to look forward to, and surgeries and stents and you know, and blood thinners and all of the things.
All the things that go with it.
I have that to look forward to. And there was just this moment where it was, hang on a minute, if all of that stuff is what's causing the heart attacks, maybe if I don't do that stuff, maybe I don't have to have the heart attacks.
Right.
And it was yeah. And there was, again, it was just one of those things, you just sort of push pause on whatever, I don't even remember what we were watching when that one hit me, but it's like, you just pause and think and go, wow, I might, again, my core foundational, you know, being
was shook. Mm-hmm. So we tried, well, before I go to that, fats versus sugar. So they pulled the fats out, but things got to taste good, and fat tastes good, by the way. They pulled the fats out and things have to taste good. So what did they do? They added a bunch of sugar.
That's right. And you can, like all of the low fat products, like that was one of the things. And I remember when they first really started talking about it, probably in the early 2000s, the amount of sugar that was then introduced
into everything,
because you need things to taste good. And without the fat, there isn't the flavor. Right. So the cheapest flavor to add then is sugar.
And you might not know this, but I believe there are around, is it about roughly 60 different names for sugar that they put into food.
Yeah.
Something around there. sugar isn't just sugar. That would be nice and easy. And it's not just high fructose corn syrup either. That would be easy also.
Yeah.
If there were 5 or 6, that would be easy. But the fact that there are almost 60 different
ways.
names that they call it and ways that they put it in there that you don't know what ose you're eating.
Yeah.
It's hidden.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to find.
Yeah.
And it's in everything.
Yeah.
Multiple different ways. You'll see 2 or 3 of them on the back of the same box.
Yeah. And so now as the sugar is introduced more and more and more, the foods become worse and worse for you, really, because now that sugar carbohydrate is in everything, and that now is the inflammation. Start talking about blood sugar levels and A1C and the tolerance of your body for sugars, and man, right now I believe in the country, depending on where you get your data, it's either 47 or 49% of Americans either have type 2 diabetes or some type of metabolic issue that is leading to type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
So like
half.
It is like this low fat, high carbohydrate diet that Ancel introduced, that the government has pushed, has truly, like, really made folks sick, like really sick.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah,
you can go out in public and see it.
Yeah,
people are
and
sick.
so the sugar really now is leading to the diabetes epidemic.
What they thought was a good thing, maybe. It's just had a long-lasting
that's debatable
consequences.
But yeah, at least some folks, I believe, thought that it was a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
widespread consequences of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, on and on, have been brought on by one idea.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay, so we moved to ketogenic diet.
We did.
And as an alternative to eating all of the processed foods and all of the, I don't know, what they've been telling us to do all those years.
Yeah. So through all of the research, it was, okay, let's try it. Let's absolutely try it. Mm-hmm. And the more we learned, the more we felt like what we were doing was the right way of.
While we were learning
things.
about it, we were trying it.
Yeah.
Like we were in the middle of eating that way whenever we were diving in so deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. But it was that.
But I thought it was probably temporary.
Yeah,
we're going to try this.
You start feeling more and more like justified to yourself.
Right.
I'm not going to eat cereal for breakfast again. I'm not going to eat ice cream tonight again.
Right.
And so there's this, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
There's definitely a cost.
Yeah.
And am I doing the right thing? The more we researched and the more we learned, the more we felt absolutely certain that yes.
Honestly, we got to the adamant point of I'm not going back.
Yeah.
That point came.
By the time we got to the we don't have to be sick.
Yeah.
There, maybe heart attack does happen. But it doesn't have to,
Yeah, it might, but it doesn't. It's not a prescription for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By that point, then it was we're doing this.
So ketogenic alternative, metabolic benefits, brain health, weight loss, some of the effects that we found pretty early on in the keto revolution for our life.
Yeah. Well,
Because we didn't know what was really going to happen. We heard what might happen, but we didn't know. But boy, we had some significant experience with our heads and our metabolisms and our hunger.
yeah. So initially, and you mentioned it a little bit, and I think I got us off topic, but you mentioned the keto flu, and that's something that is very common, and it is one of the most common talked about side effects, if you want to say that, of beginning a ketogenic
an
diet.
effect.
Yeah, and the the treatment or whatever for the side effect is water and salt.
Yeah. Yeah, it works.
More water.
It doesn't last forever.
And you need more salt.
Yeah.
Because the processed foods that
withdrawals are tough.
Well, the processed foods that you were eating have a lot of salt in
Right.
them. And as you transition to, ours transition really to a whole foods diet.
Yeah.
And with that, you have to add salt.
Yeah.
And so, some muscle cramps, just the standard things of not having enough salt. And that's one of the things that an effect of a ketogenic diet. It doesn't last long, but that it is there. And so that definitely did happen, but not for long. And then from your body's perspective, your insulin sensitivity goes up. The amount of insulin in your blood sugars come down. The amount of insulin in your body comes down. Your insulin sensitivity goes up. Like there are some almost immediate, and that can happen within a number of hours, 12, 24 hours. That starts to happen. And like that one is an almost immediate. Then your body actually starts producing ketones within about 12 hours.
Yeah.
So if you actually fast between your evening meal and your breakfast, if that break fast is actually breaking a 12-hour or so fast, you're probably producing ketones by the time you eat breakfast. Now, if you have a midnight snack or dessert before you go to bed or something like that, you probably still have glucose running around in your blood. But so your body starts producing ketones rather quickly, and on the ketogenic diet, the idea is that you transition your body full time to using ketones
As fuel.
Yeah.
Right. We noticed it pretty immediately, though, the effects of the ketones on our brains, because we're middle-aged at this point, but you're in a high mental stress and requirement job at that point in your life, but still brain fog is a thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you think, well, this is just what it is. But then I don't know how long, let's just say like a month in. And we started noticing, man, my brain's like firing.
Yeah.
The clarity is there. My words are there. Everything is just moving in my brain in a way that it hasn't in a really long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the brain fog, that we didn't really know it was brain fog at the time.
Right.
But once clarity happened,
Yeah.
you realize that there was fog.
Yeah.
And as we came,
It's almost like cleaning your glasses.
it is.
Like you wear them and they get sort of dirty, but you don't really realize they're dirty. And
Right. And then you clean them and
sometimes
go, wow.
somebody will be like, you need to clean your glasses.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. That's way better. It was like that. And the next thing you know, you're feeling like, wow, my maybe I'm not going to lose my mental capacity at 48.
Won't lose all my marbles at least.
Oh, not yet. No. It really, we've probably just gotten used to it at this point.
Yeah.
Because that's how we eat always now. But that initial wake up from the grain brain was pretty impactful.
Yeah. Your brain loves ketones as a fuel source.
And cholesterol.
Yeah.
It needs it.
Yep.
Adding both of those things to our brains. I almost felt younger mentally
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
than I did before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I felt bad, like I said. I just needed to clean my glasses, I guess.
Right.
And we did lose some weight.
Yeah.
Not an exorbitant amount of weight. We didn't need to lose an exorbitant amount of weight. But we did. Our waistlines went down.
Yeah.
Our energy levels went up.
Yep.
And our hunger levels went way down.
Yeah.
I used to eat every 2 hours. Had to.
Well, and that's another one of those things that we were taught.
Mm-hmm.
You were taught lots of small meals throughout the day is better for you. That way you don't you don't get as much glucose spikes.
Normal.
So the idea is you bring your glucose up at breakfast and you just keep it high throughout the rest of the day. Right?
You wake up ravenous and thirsty.
You wake up ravenous and thirsty, and you spike your glucose high, and you keep it high throughout the rest of the day. Like that was the way of how do you avoid that slump that happens as you get a falling blood sugar level. Well, don't ever let it fall.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep eating snacks. You eat a meal, and then you eat a snack, and then probably another snack, and then a meal, and then a snack, and and so like it's you got to keep that level.
So I was a slave to that. I mean, I really was. I was an absolute slave to.
That was I mean, think back. That was another one of the things that we really talked about as we got, you said a month into the ketogenic diet was, I'm not hungry. Mm-hmm. We eat.
Yeah.
But there was that, on the standard American diet, there's just that I must eat now,
I go to people's houses. I just take my own snack because I know I'm going to get hungry.
And
I hated it. Like you hate being hungry.
Right.
Nobody likes that feeling.
Right. It drives you.
It does.
It's a constant driver. I'm either eating or I'm thinking about what I'm going to be eating because I know I'm going to be hungry. So I have to, I have to have that next thing.
Yeah.
And that one, the hunger one, was one that we just sort of, I don't think I'm hungry.
I don't think I'm hungry. And the next thing you know, all you need's like one meal would be good. Yes, we ate. We have children. We ate ate at the right times and kind of out of habit. But I think one meal a day would be just fine. And I would sometimes, and not hungry. I'm telling you, I hated it.
Yeah.
The constant slave to the blood sugar drop.
Yeah, that was very freeing. Also, the thought that
I don't have to eat.
We were now in control. It felt like, at least for me,
Yeah.
I'm now in control of my body. Where my body was in control of me.
Right.
Like it was going to let me know if I went too long between eating. Mm-hmm. And I felt way more in control as far as hunger was concerned.
So we have all been subject to this diet or the low fat over the years. There's a swing happening. Thank goodness. Obesity has risen from 1970 to 2000. It has that was to 2000. I mean, this is 23 years later.
Yeah.
And from the statistics that I'm currently looking at, it tripled.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all did what they said.
It's continuing to go up. Yeah.
It's continuing to go up because it's addictive, and we can get into that later. But it's very difficult to come off of.
The it is sugar, really.
Yeah, the it is sugar.
But yeah.
But some people out there have benefited. We have not benefited as a society from this the low fat, the food pyramid, you got to eat processed foods. Here, try this. We didn't benefit. Our health has suffered, but somebody is benefiting.
Yeah, the big food industry has really benefited. It's a
big food industry.
Yeah. Big pharma has benefited.
Commodity grains have benefited.
Commodity grains have benefited.
Sugar has benefited.
Absolutely. Although we still subsidize sugar.
We subsidize sugar. We subsidize corn. We subsidize high fructose corn syrup. We subsidize and pay with our taxpayer dollars the crap that's killing us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Whether you want to eat it or not,
You're paying for it.
you're paying for it
if you're paying taxes.
if you're paying taxes.
Yeah, and they have benefited, and the formulas used in the foods are designed to make you want to eat them. I mean, it's a business, right? They need to sell more things, and the way they sell more things is to make it taste better, and so it's on purpose.
So here's one too. The food industry sits on some of the policy making boards at the government level.
Yeah, that one. If you wanted to go down that rabbit hole, like as a viewer or listener, that one, start looking at the revolving door. They talk a lot about the revolving door, and what that's really talking about is the people that are going back and forth from being high-level corporate folks into Congress
And back.
or being on committees, and then back to being a CEO and back into the DC policymaker
So
scene.
bureaucracy to corporate, to corporate, and they're bouncing in and out to make sure that the money stays coming in.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even without that, the amount of money that you're talking about in the billions and billions of dollars, that equals lobbyists in DC.
Right.
And so the lobbyists ensure that the laws are written in a way, the committees make findings in a way that are going to continue the food industry.
The biases and the conflicts of interests that are going on, that are controlling our health and our population, is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we today? Let me fast forward, because we have taken control of our health at this point, big time, and we have decided that, you know what, we'll just take some individual personal responsibility for ourselves, because I don't want to be taken advantage of by corporations anymore in that way.
Yeah.
So personal responsibility, but that's hard.
It is. And I think for us, it started with what I mentioned earlier was, okay, we just have to build a whole new foundation, and we need to go find our own information. And we decided we will make the decisions for ourselves, period. Not based on what we think we know.
Right.
We're going to start from scratch, and now we're just going to research and figure out for ourselves what works for us. And for us, it was a ketogenic diet.
Okay.
And we were there for quite some time, and then actually transitioned into a carnivore diet and went meat only. We had meat and dairy for over a year. And when we...
But wait a minute. Wait. We ate meat only meat for a year.
Over a year, yeah. And dairy.
And some dairy. Carnivore.
We had some cheese.
Animal. The end.
Yeah.
That's what we ate.
Yeah. Eggs.
Spices.
Meat, spices.
That's what we ate.
Yeah.
So,
that flew... that flew in the face, obviously, of...
must have glucose.
Yeah, man.
To have energy.
It
You
flies
gotta
in the,
eat some...
It flies in the face of everything that we've been taught.
Everything.
So to go there, you have to have glucose. What we've been taught is you have to eat glucose because your body requires glucose. The cells in your body are fueled by glucose.
If you don't have it,
if you
you'll
don't
die.
have it, you're going to die.
Yes.
So you must eat things that have glucose. You must. That's what we've been taught. And so that's not true.
At all.
At all. So while active duty...
First of all, We didn't die.
Yeah,
wait. before you get in the nitty gritty, because I didn't have the blood work done that you had.
No, yeah.
But I can say
You're
I'm
still alive.
here. I ate that food for a year. And by the way, my body absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
As a
Consumed
female.
zero glucose.
Zero glucose. Zero
for
carbohydrates.
14 months.
For 14 months.
Yeah. So for me, I had, annual tests done as part of my annual physical, and the blood work on that year, we were about 12 months.
This was fasting blood work? Okay.
Yeah. We were about 12 months into it, and I was really, really interested to see what my glucose levels were going to be, my blood sugar levels.
Probably rock bottom.
And I assumed they were going to be zero. But like, obviously they're not, because I'm still alive, right? But I assumed they're going to be terribly low, and I'm going to flag all of the things. The doctors are going to go crazy. Yeah. I'm going to be flagged, rushed to something, military hospital, because I don't have glucose, right?
Just don't tell them why.
Yeah. And my glucose was right smack dab in the middle of normal range. Like I think if you took the what should be the low and what should be the high and average them, like, I think it was like truly right smack dab in the middle, and I was floored. I'm like, wow.
Right. Because what we did not know and have not been told over our lives is that your body makes glucose.
Yeah.
It'll compensate. It makes the glucose that is required for it to live. Pretty spectacular, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That God made it so that it'll just keep on working.
Right.
Even without food.
It was without eating glucose. Yeah.
Well, without eating glucose, but you can fast for quite some time, right. And it will keep working.
Still makes glucose.
Yeah. Shocking. It was shocking. It was very enlightening. You were surprised.
I assumed at some level it would flag the system. Right. I really did. This one was one that I was already, preparing it mentally for how am I going to have this confrontation, because I didn't think it was even going to be a discussion.
Yeah, it was crazy.
How am I going to have this confrontation with my physician? Because I know it's going to happen.
So sugar is not required.
No.
Carbohydrates are not required in order to get energy. In fact, you will be far more energetic if you do not eat them, because you will not crash. Your insulin and your sugars will not go way up and then have to come way down, and you feel like you need more. It just stays level.
Yeah.
And that's just way more energetic. And you can just keep going and going and going. And your body will just keep producing it. Oh, we were running.
Yeah.
Because you had to run.
Yep.
This was back when we exercised. Now we farm, and that's the same. But
right, the same thing.
But different. And running, we didn't hit wall. We didn't hit a wall. Mm-mm. You go 5 miles, and you never hit that, oh my God, I can't go any further wall until I get over the wall and get something else kicking, and my body starts making glucose.
Your
once
muscles
I've run
would
out.
get tired. Like
our
muscles
but
tired,
I'm talking about that
there
wall.
was not
that most
the wall.
People, there was no wall, and we could just keep going and going and going as long as our other muscles would carry us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a really interesting aspect as well that we learned.
Yeah, as your body converts fat into ketones, there's so much energy stored in fat.
Right.
That there's so much more energy available to your body to burn that. Like your glucose stored, standard American diet glucose storage, it can still only store so much as glucose.
Right.
All of the rest of the excess, it stores away as fat. But when you're running on a standard American diet, you use that glucose, and then as soon as that's used up, now you hit a wall. Your fuel source is gone
until you transition to another fuel source.
That's
and
right.
It takes your body a minute, about 20.
Yeah.
To switch over.
But if you're in ketosis, you don't. Your body's burning ketones. That's a result of fat, right? And so your body has thousands and thousands of calories worth of fat just in a normal person that are available as energy.
So we have been questioning the guidelines. We have been diving in and really saying, wait a minute, I don't think all of this is right. This right here, the medical journal is even, the medical journal's JAMA right here. That's a journal of, what's
American
JAMA?
Medical
Medical Association. Not all dietary guidelines reflect the best or most recent science.
Yeah.
Question and research rather than blindly following what the community is currently telling you to eat, because science does change. New information does come out.
Okay,
but
so the thing that is so interesting to me is, especially as we've been here in Missouri, especially as we've been doing some YouTube stuff, and then especially as we've been doing the podcast, we meet a whole lot of people that are very vocally distrust the government.
Yeah, that's true.
But yet, they eat the standard American diet because that's what they believe is right for them. Why? Why?
Because that's what they say to do.
Who's they?
Right.
It's very interesting.
Well, because it's the norm.
Yeah.
And whenever you go against norm, you're going against, you're going upstream.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been going upstream for 5 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever you're talking about food, it's hard, because food is where we connect with people.
Yeah.
Around food is, our relationship with food is connected to our relationship with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culturally,
Yeah.
it's connected.
Absolutely.
And we have to eat. And it's hard. It's really, really hard.
Sure is.
Really hard. But finding information and making a decision about your own life and your own health, an informed decision, it's been freeing for us, honestly. It's been very freeing.
Yeah.
And we have been, I don't take any medicines. I used to be on blood pressure medicine. I don't take that anymore. I don't take anything, honestly.
Yeah.
Super healthy, trim waists, super energetic, could not speak higher of not eating sugar and carbohydrates. So next week, what I think that we should do is, now that we've kind of talked about our story and our background and how we got here, and it seems extreme, but it's really, really not. But next week, maybe let's dive into, well, then what do you eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you eat when you started? Okay, you talked about carnivore, but what did you eat fine during that period as well? That's pretty simple. And then where are we today with what we eat? What does a day look like?
Yeah.
Some people might be absolutely just going, no.
Right.
Because I don't even know where to begin.
Yep.
And I can tell you what we don't eat, and that's fast food.
That is a beginning.
We do not eat any fast food.
Yeah.
We do not really eat out at all. We do cook all of our own food. That is a start, even if you only started there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that next week and really dive into what we really, really eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What we ate back then too.
And how we decided,
Right.
What resources
because
did we
there are
use?
resources,
Yeah.
there are so many resources out there that you don't have to think about it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
People have done the work. They have come up with recipes. They have come up with alternatives. They have come up with things to walk you through making informed, better decisions about what's on your menu.
Should you choose to follow this style, there are definitely resources.
And I can assure you, we like good food, and we like tasty food, and we eat good, tasty food.
Yes.
So next week we'll talk about that.
Cool.
So a farm update though.
Yeah.
We do farm because we like good food. So we grow good food, and that's why we farm. We picked up 5 hogs from the processor last week.
We did.
Dropped off 3 whole hogs and filled 3 people's freezers. 3? 2.5.
Yeah, no, we've since distributed 3 whole hogs, but one of those was a half.
Oh, okay. Half and half.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So we're filled 4 people's freezers. 4
Awesome.
families. Yeah.
It's cold.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cold.
And it was in the teens this morning. And
it's November.
yeah.
And it's in the teens. The whole country was cold today.
Yeah.
So.
And we farm in the cold. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was cold last winter too, but
Yep.
it's November and it takes a minute to get into the mindset of winter ops. Everything takes longer, and it's not just I have to put on more layers.
Yeah.
It takes longer because you have to drain all of the water hoses.
Right.
You can't have the float valves keeping water with the animals. You have to bust the troughs. Like there
More.
are things. There are increased steps to winter ops. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a wake up
So the
call.
animals are cold,
Yeah.
but they're tough.
Oh yeah.
They're very tough. We make sure our animals are tough. We don't baby ourselves over things, and we don't baby them either.
Yeah.
And it just makes for hardier.
Yeah, they're hardy.
Everybody's hardy.
They're doing good. They're cold.
Our winter drop site, we tried that out this last week. It worked.
Yeah.
Worked
yeah,
well.
That's working well. And we had folks go onto the website and make orders and set up the delivery. Like
Yep.
that whole piece is working.
So if you're in this area and you want what we would normally have at the farmers market on Saturdays, if you still want it, get online, make an order, text, call, whatever works best for you, an order in, and I will see to it that it's packaged up, and we will meet you in town on Saturday at 11. Oh, we also have to move the pigs.
yeah, it's time.
It's time. Those guys need to move.
Okay.
So that's probably tomorrow, I would think. Do you have any did you knows?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Oh, is it?
I was about to jump into it when you were talking about eating good food, and we like to have tasty food.
We do like to have tasty food.
And I thought, man, what a segue into the did you know?
Okay.
So the did you know today is the headline: Tyson Foods investing big in bug protein for new venture. Published October the 30th. This is a Fox News article, and it is Tyson Foods is partnering with a Dutch bug protein company to bring insect farming to the U.S. using livestock waste as feed. They're going to build a facility in the U.S. that will raise insects. The bug protein won't.
Wait, they're gonna grow bugs on poop.
Livestock waste. Right. They didn't say poop.
It's poop. It's poop.
The bug protein won't be used for human consumption at this point.
Oh.
Instead, the facility will use animal waste from Tyson cattle to feed black soldier flies, which will then be processed into food for pets, livestock, and fish. Skipping down, this venture aligns with a global shift toward alternative proteins and more sustainable food
there
sources.
we go. Now we're getting to it. They're going to start out with feeding your dog this crap, and then they're going to force you to.
Amid environmental concerns, more about feeding livestock waste. As one of the largest food companies in the world, Tyson says about themselves, they expect the demand for insect protein could reach 500,000 metric tons by 2030.
Oh my goodness, that's a convenient date
Yeah.
to put in there.
It is.
By 2030.
It's shocking.
I'll be darned, y'all.
It surely has nothing to do with Agenda 2030,
No.
where they want to
Oh my God.
do away
Yeah.
with all meats and feed you bugs.
Yeah.
A significant increase from the existing market of 10,000 metric tons in 2021. So I did looked a little bit into the company that they're partnering with is Protix, and
Pro who?
Protix.
Like ticks.
No, Protix.
They
Protix.
gonna want us to eat ticks.
No, they're not.
Oh.
In 21, actually, December of 21, the EU recently authorized yellow mealworm and crickets for human consumption for Protix, an insect producer, in order to ensure greater sustainability in farming and diets. Protix existing products range from ingredients for pets, piglets, fish, chicken, and food and snacks for humans. The insects are processed into frozen and dried formulations so that can be used in a variety of foods such as cereal bars, meat products, dried pasta, and so on. Meat products. We don't produce meat products. We produce meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, that's all caps, that's a thing, Food and Agriculture Organization has identified insects as a nutritious and healthy food source, part of the EU's new farm strategy as an alternative protein source with the potential to facilitate a shift towards more sustainable food. Its low environmental impact and high nutritional value provides the opportunity to develop nutritious food with a low footprint. So that's Protix.
Got it. So
That's
Tyson is now investing and are a minority partner in their company.
That's
bring
correct.
them to the United States.
But the investment was in the billions, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's not just a little investment; it's
big.
a big investment, and they're planning to have a facility open by 25 in the U.S. And they did parse their words to say basically at this point.
At this point.
So
but we know that's where they're going.
Well, that's what Protix does, right? Like in the EU, they're already doing it.
Right.
They're already making proteins from bugs for human consumption. Right? So, did you know?
Tyson, man. I can't even come up with a good one about what kind of chicken nuggets.
Well,
that would be a meat
product.
They would just put it in their chicken nuggets.
Right.
Yuck. Tyson's going to put that stuff in your kids' chicken nuggets. Maybe. Probably. I don't know. That's so gross.
Not at this point.
So gross.
But they are investing in the company that would absolutely make it possible.
Yeah. Yuck. I wonder how that's going to be listed on the back of the ingredients box. This contains insects. Are they going to tell us? Are they just going to come up with some 15-letter word and you're not going to know what it is? Because
what if they?
How are they going to do that?
What if they use for genetically modified organisms now? They don't call them GMOs. It's
bioengineered.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be something like that.
Okay.
I guarantee you. But yeah, if you look on the labels, it says contains bioengineered products or ingredients.
Yeah.
That means there are genetically modified organisms, GMOs, in that food.
In that food.
And so I assume it will be something like that. They won't say this contains crickets.
No, or mealworms.
I have a feeling, I mean, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that on the ingredient label,
they'll just put
the list of ingredients, I don't think it's going to say Jiminy.
No, probably
cricket.
Not. Wow. 2030. Okay, well, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much again for listening, liking, commenting. The podcasts are doing really, really good. And the information and messages are getting out there about food, freedom, and farming.
Yeah.
And it's really, really fun to do. It's fun to watch. And it's a lot. It gives us all something to think about whenever people comment, and we comment back and just creating that community. So continue to subscribe if you haven't already, like and follow. And if you can rate or review us as far as your podcast, Spotify or within Apple that would be awesome too. That might bump it up to somebody's top of somebody's list so that they can see it and have a listen.
Yeah, and if you learned, share it.
Yeah, if you learned something, share it.
Or if you, even if you didn't,
if you have
learn,
a question,
if you found it entertaining.
Yeah, if you have a question, even we're going to talk about what we eat next week. But if you have any further questions about what we talked about this week, please ask. Please ask.
Yeah.
We love engaging like that. So, well, until next week, bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.